Welcome to the Growth with AI podcast, hosted by Integrated AI Services. I'm Peter Martinson, and today's episode dives into how artificial intelligence is reshaping creative marketing, brand development, and digital strategy. Our guest is Lenny Vyater, founder of the Vyater Group, a full-service creative agency known for blending sharp design, intentional storytelling, and modern digital execution. Lenny, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So tell me your story. How did you get started doing what you're doing now?
So, Peter, it's been a long road and it hasn't been a straight path. I'll tell you that much. I started way back when as a creative. I have an art degree. I was an art director, a graphic production manager, a lot of the manual kind of day-to-day creative execution work on the advertising side for retail and other corporate kind of brands over the years. I then decided that there was a little bit of a ceiling that a creative kind of started to hit. And I wanted to be involved in more of the strategic type of business development conversations and how that
Right.
related to the creative. So I went back and got my marketing master's and synced that left brain, right brain from both business strategy to the creative execution, marry those two together to get the clients or the business to where they wanted to be at the end of the day and get people the best return on whatever investment that they were making, whether it was a digital ad campaign, a direct mail campaign, depending on what the client was looking for at the end of the day.
Hmm. And when did you start your own agency then?
So that happened out of necessity, not something I was actually looking to do. I got out of grad school around 2008, around the
Oh,
crash of all the securities. So Lehman, I'm pretty sure I was watching Lehman Brothers go under as I was finishing up like my master's thesis, and I was like, oh wow, this is going to be a tricky job market when I get out of here. But luckily, I developed a good network of throughout my corporate work in lots of different verticals with vendors, other colleagues that moved on to other, entities. And they had started poking me throughout my grad school, 2 years that I was doing full time. And I started freelancing, a little project here, a little project there. By the time I graduated, I was pretty busy juggling graduating and getting my degree with freelancing with all these projects that were coming in, all by
Mhm.
referral, all by just the network that I developed throughout my initial career over those first probably 10 years. And then it got to a point, I also had my first child around that time. So um, sleep wasn't an issue. There was no need to sleep because you have a newborn, and the work was there. So I just worked, and in between there were the feedings and the crying and the diaper changing, and that went on for a while. And then at a certain point, I was like, okay, I've always felt that I had the capacity and the ability to do the work of multiple individuals, but at a certain point, you get burnt out, no matter how young you are, how hungry you are. So I decided to then go and start building a team. And that was around the time, I'd say the Vita Group is about 16 years old, I would say, probably as old as my oldest child, because I believe I incorporated probably around the same time he was born. So I probably began putting a team together somewhere like 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And I tried a couple of different ways to go about it, hire experienced designers. And, I found that nobody really kind of got it the way that I did or
Mhm.
didn't perform the way that I had expected them to do. Granted, I might have had some higher standards than some. I have to give thanks to my senior creative director from my first job who really pushed me to excel and to really become a great designer that I think I've developed over the years to be. So, after searching and going through a handful of designers, I decided, okay, this isn't going to work. I need to train my own people. And that's really when the game changed a little bit. And I started going out to my old alma mater, Brooklyn College, because that's where I ended up getting my degree from after bouncing around from a couple of different schools. Started pulling in interns and training them. And over the course of these last 14 years, at least a dozen interns have gone through my doors, and three of them are still working with me to this day. That probably over 10 years now. It's my core team of designers. I just saw them in New York last week when I went up for a visit, and everybody's doing great. I am now working on, 2.0 interns. And I just started because during COVID, we relocated, went virtual. That was a big shift. Luckily, I had already kind of began that cyber commute. I relocated from New York to South Florida
Mhm.
with the family and was commuting back and forth and kind of running remote control. So I already had the infrastructure built out for myself to do remote work. So as soon as COVID hit, I kind of implemented that for the rest of the team, with everybody home, and we've been virtual and global ever since, going now on 5 years. And so I didn't really have the opportunity, nor did I feel it was the right time to try to train a new batch of team members. Just this summer, I brought on a few new interns that I'm working with and trying to help them develop, whether they stay with me and the Vita Group or move on to something else, which is okay. I have no problem with that. If anything, I've had interns that later went on to get their master's degrees, and then we work together and collaborate on other projects together. So I'm always happy to, help people grow and develop, and I hope that they become smarter than I am, because then I could leverage their expertise.
That's an admirable trait. I mean, so many companies these days want to hire people who can turn on their computer and start producing right away and not have any kind of training or mentoring period there. They just like,
I,
sign into your computer and send your first email within minutes.
I think that's a big miss for a lot of companies, honestly, because I was consulting at a company, and I don't usually do this either. It was a old friend of mine, and he had a company down here in Miami, and he's like, "Hey, help me out. Can you come down here and do some consulting for me, build the team for me in my business?" So I was like a fractional CMO for about a year for his company. The first thing I said when I walked in the door and like did a kind of just a quick scan of what was going on process wise, operational wise, I was like, you need training materials, you need operations manuals, you need processes. Like, people are going all over the place without clear direction.
Mhm.
And this was like an ongoing conversation that I had over the course of an entire year. So, I hope he, takes my advice one day and puts that all into effect. But they were prioritizing other stuff over that. And I think if those guidelines, that type of information was available to the new hires, because they were growing fast. And that's why they asked me to come in there to help them kind of scale the business. That type of information would have helped with turnover,
Mhm.
would have helped with just a general kind of speed to get these people productive in the way that they could have been, versus trying to figure it out on their own or piecing it together based on questions that they had to ask.
Yeah. So talking about interns, you're actually the first person I've talked to who is at least told me that they brought interns into their company. So I'm curious because in the last 3 years, right, since November of 2022, when ChatGPT was first put out into the world, into the wild, there's been a huge shift since that November of 2022 until now. So what are you looking for in interns now versus interns pre-release of ChatGPT? Can you give an overview of like the differences?
100%. I'll tell you that in general, and this is a little bit different based on the type of intern. We hire designers, we hire videographers, editors, marketing people that do digital ads, analysts. So it varies based
Mhm.
on the type of intern and what their specialty is going to be. But in general, the key is that the person has some vision or talent inherent without any experience whatsoever. For the designers, you have to have a certain eye for design. There has to be a certain passion for creativity. For the more business marketing oriented people, again, there has to be a hunger, a drive to learn. And then the AI portion of it now, the first thing I ask these interns is, are you using AI and what are you using it for? And you'd
Mhm.
be surprised how many college kids still aren't capitalizing on AI. And I have to now teach them the basics of using AI within the industry, which honestly, I'm surprised at this point, considering that I've been using AI at least for the last 3 years, if not longer, in one way or another. But AI is a tool. It's not going to replace the people that I have working for me. The goal is for AI to make your job faster.
Mhm.
It's to make your job easier because you can get to concept in a much quicker pace. So you can hit those deadlines. You can hit multiple deadlines. You could squeeze more work into a shorter span of time, which can give you more freedom to do other things. So, you know, I've talked to many people, both professionally and in the industry, and just parents, my friends who have their own kids who are about to go into college or in high school or about to graduate college, and they're like, what do we do with all this AI stuff? I'm like, make sure they're learning it, make sure they understand how to use it, make sure they know, where to implement it and how in order to make them more valuable.
Mhm.
Because if you ignore it, and it's going to pass you by, and it's going to be a game of catch up. And at the pace that it's going now, it's hard to keep up. I look and read and follow, AI stuff on a daily basis, and I tag it, and I'm like, I need to get back to that. And I'd say 50 to 60% I probably never make it back to. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to figure that out and how to squeeze that back into my routine to really stay on top. But luckily I have a team, and then I send it to them. I'm like, hey, go look at this because this looks useful and we could probably use this for something.
Yeah. So can you talk about how your agency uses AI? Is it on the creative side? Is it just on the admin side? Is it a blend? Do
It's a
your people
we're fully so my agency, my degree, my graduate degree is in integrated marketing. So integrated marketing was like a novelty kind of thing. It's probably going on like 15 years ago. And they've changed the way that integrated marketing kind of is, what constitutes integrated marketing. For me, my agency does start to finish. We do everything from creative and business strategy, all the creative execution, production, manufacturing. If there's a print component or some kind of like event execution component, like a physical component to it, or there's the digital where it could be video, online, web development, something along those lines. And then we can also help with product and manufacturing and sourcing. So I'm pretty much like a fully start to finish, soup to nuts, whatever you want to call it. We get in at any point of a customer's or client's life cycle in terms of like where they are with their company, their services, their product. It might be something from like, pre-birth, startup. I have a concept. Or it could be someone that's already mature and, they've been in the business for 20, 30 years and they need to try to find a new market segment, or they have a new service offering that they want to, introduce to their current customer base. So we touch a little bit of everything, and we use AI to do a little bit of everything along the way. So I have, ChatGPT and Perplexity and Grok and I run across the gamut depending on like what I'm doing in terms of like research, on certain topics. Cause my thing is, I'm not here to, I can be a service provider, no problem. I could be like everybody else. But when I come into a project, I like to really educate myself on the business, on the target market. What is the service? What is the product? who's consuming it, how are they consuming it. I try to become as much of an expert as the person I'm working with and
Mhm.
partner with them so that I can achieve the best outcome that I can for their business goals or business objectives. So I do a lot of research and I have my team do a lot of research. We use ChatGPT and those other platforms for that type of research. It helps us compile data a lot quicker than if I was to have to scour the internet on my own. I still do a good a good amount of that just because I feel like no AI is perfect. We'll talk about this later when clients say, "Hey, just, why don't you just do some AI magic and get it back to me tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I wish AI could do that, because if it did, you wouldn't have to ask me to do it. You would do it yourself." But so we do a lot of research with AI. We do a lot of conceptual writing, concepts, taglines, headlines, some strategy work just to kind of flush out or do basic outlines that we then fill in. I'm one of those people that when it comes to AI, my AI knows me. I talk to my AI. I rarely type to my AI anymore because it takes too much time. When I create prompts, I'm dictating as if I was to dictate to one of my team members as to what I want. I set up the scenario, I set up a situation, I give it all the background information, I upload files, I give it links, and then I tell it here's what we need to accomplish. And here we're gonna do it in a phased approach and step it out as to like how I want to like go through this with you being the AI and what I expect back from you and how I want you to give it back to me. And then I take those pieces of information and I run through them, read through them, refine them, probably goes a couple of rounds, add in my own flavor to it. And then I can take those pieces and put them into other forms of AI, whether it's, maybe video that I'm creating. I just did some LinkedIn posts recently regarding AI video content that I generated because the clients had nothing to work with, but they said, "Hey, we
Mhm.
need to advertise so and so." I was like, "Well, do you have footage? Do you have content? And we go and film?" No, there's no time. There's no budget. No, no. Okay, no problem. They had some photography. I had some stock. And AI with some prompts, I was able to generate certain scenes, animate those scenes, and then we splice them together, throw in some music and some overlays, and you got a video. So, the AI can help with generating scripts, generating storyboards, setting up
Mhm.
scenes, um, and then you feed that into whatever other platform, whether it's an image generator or a video like image animation or um, at the end of the day though you still need the human component because that's where the vision comes from, and that's
Mhm.
the person that's compiling it all together, doing all the fine tuning, putting the polish on, because you will never get that fully polished creative execution from a prompt. No matter, at least I don't see that happening for at least the next 10 years, unless they do some miraculous work over, I don't see it. And that's why I'm not, when I read these articles about AI is taking over your job, and it's possible for certain industries. But again, that's only because the people in those jobs did not take the time to learn how to become invaluable because they know how to leverage the AI to make themselves a stronger team member, employee, whatever it is.
Yeah. No, it can definitely be a force multiplier, and especially if you combine automation with AI, one person can now do a lot.
100%.
So, so what have been the biggest challenges that you've seen integrating AI with your team or your clients? Can you talk about that just for a minute?
Challenges is really finding where where the right fit is
Mm,
and how that AI component, whatever it is, depending on the team or the client, how that's going to benefit them and not give them a false sense of, I'm not even sure what the right word is, but give them some false sense of that AI is going to do the job for them without them having to do anything. Again, there's no way it's going to do the job for you unless you give it like minute tasks that are just repetitive, which
Mm,
that's just like writing macros in Excel from way back when. If there's specific tasks that are repetitive, yes, you could set up an AI to do them and it'll just do them over and over and over again. Obviously, I would still spot check the results, but that's something a little bit of a no-brainer. But when it comes to creativity or something strategic, um, you have to be able to explain and relay what you're really looking for to the AI to really get back something valuable or
mm,
somewhat valuable that you can take and move to the next stage. With my team specifically, it's a learning curve. And with most clients, it's a learning curve. You have to baby step them into it. I told, one of my guys has been working with me for over a decade, one of my interns from years and years ago. He's like a technophile, kind of really into his toys and technology. We used to play with like VR when it first came out, before Facebook and Meta bought out Oculus and everything like that. And we were working with like virtual reality and all the emerging technologies we used to play with. And when AI started developing and we were starting to fool around with like Mid Journey, because that was one of the first ones, and ChatGPT with OpenAI, we installed like we have local installations of that stuff so we can kind of get around certain barriers that the public has when it's using the public facing installations on openai.com and chatgpt.com, whatever it is, Midjourney. So we spent a lot of time testing. The key is the time involved and dedicating time and sometimes budgets to learning. Over the course of the time that I've been working and developing team members, whether it's from intern stage or fresh out of school, there's always a, a line item in your project queue called professional development.
mhm,
So you have to spend a certain amount of time every week learning something. And AI at this point is outside of like your core business function or your core like tools that you use. So for designers, let's say it's a Adobe Suite. Obviously, you need to know Adobe Suite, and every time something gets updated, you should learn the new tools. But outside of that, like AI, you need to be learning something related to AI. And in my Slack, I have a channel dedicated to that. So when I find these articles and new apps and different features, I add it to my Slack channel. And all my team is connected to that Slack. And they're part of their job is to go and look at it and research it and see if there's something valuable there. Because as one person, I already wear like 50 hats. I'm a small business. I never scaled to where I have like middle management and all that stuff. It's me and my team. And so I only have so much time to devote to exploration myself. And sometimes I fall in a rabbit hole and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm playing with some new AI tools. I'm like, what's going on here? But it's time. It's time and money dedicated to really understanding the technology and how it can benefit you and which technology is the right technology because there's so much out there and
mm,
some of it is specific industry wise. And now with you have every major platform incorporating AI into the platform in some way, whether it's, Google and your G Suite workspace with Gemini, or you're in Salesforce and you have the AI Copilot in there, or Google Docs or Microsoft with their Copilot. I feel like there's an AI everywhere trying to help you with something, but like sometimes it's like, please don't help me. I just need to do my work. But it's understanding where to leverage, which ones to leverage, and then learning how to leverage them properly.
fantastic, fantastic.
I hope
That was a great
that was a little bit roundabout answer, but
No, that was very thorough. I appreciate that. But I think that is a good place to go ahead and finish up the podcast. Before we go, what do you want people who might hire you to know about you and your firm?
Sure. So again, I've been doing this for about 16 years as the Vita Group. I've been doing this professionally, both on the design and the marketing side, probably going on 20 to 25 years already. All my clients to date, referral based. I do not do any kind of outbound marketing, direct mail, cold calling, sales calls. I do not do that. I do not want to deal with people that I need to convince to work with me. This might sound crazy, but my reputation, my business is built on trust. That trust comes in the form of professional referrals from one colleague to another, from one person moves from one corporation to another. Most of my clients are corporate based. I do a lot of corporate communication, Fortune 500 companies, global companies. Um, but I still do the small mom and pops. My friend has a new business idea or needs a logo and this. So I do still like doing the small stuff, but majority of my work that pays the bills on a day-to-day basis is referral. And that referral is based on the trust that I've earned over the years, providing value in terms of cost, on time production when it comes to deadlines. And we specialize in quick turnover. Like when the house is on fire, that's when my phone rings and the email starts going wild. It's like, emergency, emergency, can you help? So, if you want a trusted partner and not just somebody to come and do an odd job here for and there for you, you know,
Mhm.
I'm happy to talk. And that
Fantastic.
conversations are free. So I'm happy to talk. We can explore and discuss what opportunities might be out there for collaborations.
All right. Well, that's impressive that all your business comes in through referrals. I don't hear that very often. So
It's
well
not
done.
for somebody that does marketing. It's probably not the smartest thing to be doing, but it's been working. And if it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Lenny, this has been a great discussion. I appreciate you joining us on the podcast, and maybe we'll try to have you on again in a year or so and see how things have changed.
Sounds great, Peter. Thank you. It was a
All
pleasure.
right. Take care.
Take care.